Hi, guys. So today we're talking about a very exciting topic. Well, in my opinion, it's exciting. And actually, we agreed on a topic for once, or we try to agree on most of the things. And the topic is imagination and why it's important. But before I dive into it, I just wanted to share with you a bit of a personal story. So about a year and a half ago, I decided that what I really would love in my life is to speak on stages and really to bridge the gap between spiritual and corporate worlds. But what I didn't know is I didn't know how I would do it. I've done some podcasts before, but nothing related on the topic. And back then I had this coach who taught me a visualization process. And one of those days when we're going to have a teaching session, I will share with you that what the process is. But to cut the long story short, basically what I've done is I wrote out the whole vision of my life and what I wanted to create. And that covered everything: relationships, friendships, career, business, etc. And then I summarized it on a flip chart. And one of the top lines was I wanted to speak on international stages live. And then I wanted to see my family in Ukraine and Germany because I haven't seen them in a long time. And shortly after, the Ukrainian war started, and I was no closer to getting any speaking gigs. But every day I would either visualize or even journal and spend 20, 30 minutes journaling in it. And then a year ago, I remember that day I took my kids to a theme park and I received a message on a LinkedIn from a guy who was organizing a live event called Employee of the Future in Berlin. And he asked me if I wanted to be one of the speakers. Of course, I said yes. So by that stage, my aunt, who is in Ukraine, she already relocated to Germany to live with my cousin. And when I got home, I told my dad is still in Ukraine. I say to him, look, I'm going to be speaking in Berlin. Any chance you can get out of Ukraine and come and see me? So when the time came, I flew to Berlin and I spoke at this amazing events, hundreds of people, probably more, I don't know how many hundreds streaming in. It was my first live event. And then the next day I took a train to Frankfurt to my family, where so my cousin, my aunt, and my dad actually managed to make it out of Ukraine. I think he managed to get a last ticket. So just to show you, just by applying imagination to our goals, even something as impossible can become possible. And that's why I am a firm believer in what imagination can do for us. And of course, we are taught from a young age that we need to take massive actions. We've got to use our willpower and effort to strive and achieve. And that's what I've done for most of my life. And I'm not saying that approach doesn't work. It does. But there is a limit because we're going to cap out at some stage. Because achieving, and I'm not talking a small little goals, but something like life goals, even a big career like promotion, getting to the next level in our lives requires our imagination. I mean, when you even think of entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs, well, Einstein, I guess, was an entrepreneur, but they talk a lot about the power of imagination. And one of my favorite writers, Neville Goddard, he is a mystic. He actually says imagination is your God, because everything has started in someone else's imagination. Look at the airplanes, look at, I don't know, even the house you live in, right? At one stage, it was a concept. I mean, the car, the vehicles we drive in, the trains, it was just a concept in someone's minds. And that's how I think when we start looking at it from that perspective, what is it that you want to imagine? What do we want to create in our lives? Right? It's let's set the goal and then figure out how we're going to get there. It becomes more effortless. We get into that state of flow and ease, and we actually enjoy that creative process rather than just pushing ourselves to strive and achieve. Sarit, anything you want to add to it?
Yes. I want to take a different angle of imagination. Because imagination, everything that Lena said, I think she summarized it correctly. When we're looking at imagination as a tool of trying to envision where we need to go. I agree with everything she said, and I'm definitely imagining where I want to be and what I want to do. But imagination for me is also a day-to-day tool on a more down-to-earth day-to-day practice, or a tool that I can use in almost any circumstances. Why? Because when we are approaching any situation in life, our reaction is determined by our perception. Perception is usually something very limited. I'm not saying that even with imagination, I wouldn't get to the same result, but imagination is actually broadening my perspective of the circumstances. So even if I have something in my life, not a long achieving goal, I reach something and I'm upset, and I'm asking myself, okay, this is the first thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, those are usually my go-to action, or how will I handle it? Let's imagine a little bit what I will never do, for example. And then 6, 10, 11 options are opening up to me because I dare to imagine in the same circumstances what I will never do. And this is actually tricking my mind to actually, just get a higher perspective, giving me more options to understand how can I look at the situation, what else am I missing? So the minute we're saying imagination, we're actually relieving the ego mind, and he's taking a step back and he's allowing us to play with options that, with the protection mechanism of him trying to keep us safe, he is not allowing us to see. So imagination, yes, is definitely something for long achieving goal, but also a day-to-day, just a tool. You're landing on somewhere where you didn't want to be, in a conversation you didn't want to be, circumstances that did not show up the way you want. Dare to imagine how you would do, how that you never thought about. I have a dear friend, and I had a challenging circumstances, and he actually gave me a sentence that I'm carrying with me. And the sentence was, dare to show up as the person they did not expect. And you know what? The people who works with us know very good how we are reacting, and they expect stuff out of us. And it was very smart of him to tell me, show up as the person they did not expect. And in order to do that, you definitely need imagination.
Yeah, and I mean, imagination, there is a difference between daydreaming and imagination. And actually, your daydreaming can be part of your imaginative process. But important thing here is not just to kind of like make it a wishful thinking, but actually to feel it and becoming like that person, like what you just said. So first of all, let's say you want a big promotion at work, right? So what kind of person would you need to be? How would you need to show up? What energy do you need to be in? How would you talk to other people? How would you respond to them? Would you still be, I don't know, like triggered by things that tell you, or would you try to be more, I guess, understanding and see different perspectives? And that doesn't just limit you to work, because how you do anything is how you do everything. So that will impact all areas of your lives. So whenever it is that you imagine, whether it's a promotion or maybe like buying your dream house or whatever it is, it's the feeling that fuels your imagination. And it's really important to not just to imagine the pictures, but really to connect with it through your feelings. And for me, what really helps me is the meditation. So sometimes I do guided meditation on manifestation, on creation. Sometimes it's just a silent meditation. Journaling, like what I shared about the process that I did, is a really, really good way to connect with it. But at the end of the day, no matter what you imagine, you just gotta really feel it. I think feeling is the secret. And once again, that's what Neville Goddard said. And it's just like feeling, how would it make me feel once I've already accomplished it? What kind of person I want to become, and act as though it already happened.
No, you went into manifestation, but if I need to, which is a different video.
It's all connected.
All connected. But imagination is actually a fun tool to go beyond limited beliefs of the ego, that actually the only thing he wants is to make us safe. This is why as human beings we are very, very predictable. And dare to show up as the person that even you didn't expect yourself to be, right?
Yeah, so because, what we mean by ego is that the mindset that, always protects us, always wants to keep us safe and unpredictable, while imagination requires us to expand our horizons, to open ourselves, to expand our belief systems, and really go beyond our self-imposed limitations. So whenever, let's say, you really truly desire something and your mind goes, who the hell do you think you are? You've never done it before. Look at how it played out in the past. That's the ego mind, because it just wants to keep you safe. While if you then tap into your imagination and put those thoughts aside and actually say, okay, just for 5 minutes, I'm not going to listen to that voice in my head. And I'm literally going to go mental and design the life I desire. What would I love, right? If nothing was a problem, if I was unstoppable, what would I love to achieve? And this is how you then shut up that voice just for a few minutes and you start expanding your mindset, because this is a very different energy you're working. And energy at the end of the day is everything.
So going back to imagination, just before we are close, it's a fun tool to actually, even between you and you, seeing a movie of a person that you dare to actually be maybe someday. And even if you at the end decide to do what originally came up to you, at least you have fun. At least you know you saw new options, and even if you're not going to do it today, maybe next time.
And yeah, I mean, I just want to share a few tips because, like, how do we actually access our imagination, right? It's like we all daydream, but actually, how do we activate it? How we give it fuel? And I already said that feeling is the secret. So firstly, we've got to pay attention to our energy, because when you're feeling drained, your imagination, you just can't fuel your imagination, because remember what I said, feeling is the secret. So you want to work on your energy. You want to maybe start surrounding yourselves by people, be in places that actually inspire and uplift you. Maybe stop watching I don't know, like whatever it is that you're consuming that makes you feel meh. So consume something different, something that inspires you. Quieting your mind or finding silence throughout the day, even if it's just for 5 minutes, like putting aside all of the worries, all of the concerns. And I know it's really, really hard to do that, but find 5 minutes, even if you just go for a walk, that stillness, get clear on what is it that you want to create. And also taking control of your emotions. When you're feeling like you get stuck in a rut where your mind is looping in the same thought pattern, you want to start changing your thought, because you can believe one thing, but it's a choice. You can start choosing different thoughts, because your thoughts drive your emotions. And whenever you feel uplifted, that's how you can then start fueling that imagination with your energy.
So what works for me is 2 things. Scripting. I always carry a notebook with me, and I'm writing everything as it comes along, ideas, if I want to, just see something, and usually it helps me be creative. Second of all, I recommend everybody will find a friend, and our code is, how am I going to show up? And we're actually, motivating each other to show up tremendously or completely not as we ever thought we were going to show up. So that was what works for me.
Yeah.
And thank you to that friend. He's probably going to watch the video.
I think, with some, we're all finding different ways for us to stay in that high energy, I guess. But this is just a few suggestions we want to share with you guys. And let us know if you implement any of that and how it goes for you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Bye.